But then we pulled in, and Jason Huff was standing in the Sally Port, Corporal Jason Huff, sorry. Um, Zane Shadle and Bill Dunning was in the Sally Port when I pulled in, and I put my car in park, got out, exited my driver's side. Jason or Corporal Huff already had the door open, and come on, they wouldn't come out, so we drug him out.
They took him. I mean, they said that. I mean, when they brought him in, he was being uncompliant, and they had to drag him inside because he wasn't being compliant. He was fighting the whole way.
Any other comments about how they gained compliance?
They drug him in and put him in the holding cell. That's all I was told.
No special types of holds or strikes or anything like that? Okay.
We just went out. He was assisted out of the car and into his cell. I mean, we got him right in there.
Assisted, I mean, is he being passively resistant where if
He was he was not really helping us. We helped him.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you we were friendly with him. We were not abusive or anything, but we got him out of there and we got him in the cell. We got the cuffs on him.
He's still
or off of him. I'm sorry.
Was he compliant or?
He really didn't have an option. We just drug him out and carried him in.
When he didn't get out of the car easily, you guys had to drag him out. Was there any appearance that he was injured during that?
No, I mean, he was cuffed behind his back, so I mean, if he was injured, I didn't know if he was injured.
Okay. He was pretty easy to get out of the car.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys hit the Sally Port. We know Huff is the one that pulls him out of the vehicle. Apparently, Goldson didn't comply with the first request to get out. Other than getting him out of the vehicle, walking him in backwards, is any other threats made to him at that time?
No.
Okay.
I was actually the one that pulled him out of the car.
Okay, and what do you mean by pulled him out of the car?
I grabbed him by the shackles. He was laying down on the back seat. He was in what we call the West Bay, which is the one closest to Mount Orr Pike.
Okay.
His feet were towards the front wall of the building. His head was towards the inside, went towards the Sally Port, back towards the jail. I grabbed a hold of the shackle chain and drug him out to where we could get a hold of him. We carried him into holding cell 15, which is where you saw him, holding cell 15.
He was lying down in the cruiser?
On the seat, yes.
Was that voluntary?
I have no idea.
Okay, but he wasn't like chained down?
No, he was just laying there.
Okay.
He had the leg shackles on and transport belt, and there was 2 pairs of cuffs. And I really don't remember how he was cuffed, but I know that there was a pair of our orange jail cuffs that was with the transport belt,
okay,
and there was a pair of chrome cuffs.
Okay.
What do you see in the cell when you go in? Has anything changed from what you just described before about it just being left that way? Left the way it was when he left?
Yeah, I didn't see anything different. He was on the floor at this point. I went to take his shackles off, and Zane was taking his handcuffs off.
Where's the sheet at in the room?
I didn't see a sheet.
Okay. Is there a noose hanging in there when you walk in there?
No, sir.
You aware that anybody, could you have missed it if there was a noose hanging in there?
No, we were right there. There's not a lot of room in that
Did
cell.
you hear any discussions about anybody else saying they're going to set up a noose or anything else in that cell for intimidation purposes?
No, sir.
Okay. As you're going into the cell, what do you see about the cell? Is there anything out of the ordinary in the cell at that time? All right. You don't see a sheet hanging there from the shower head or anything?
No.
All right. Nothing else like that? No other type of intimidating?
No.
Okay. What's being said at this time to Goldson?
As I was uncuffing him, I instructed him that if he would.
And you're probably not uncuffing him yet, Zane. You're still just getting him in. So
probably nothing being said at that time.
Nothing at that point. All right.
Who opened the door to the jail cell?
One of the COs. I don't remember which one it was.
But you went into the cell with him to.
We kind of shoved him in the cell.
Gotcha.
Who's the 2 people that take him through the door?
I know that Huff and Webmore had him by the arms. I had his belt.
Okay, so you're basically trailing.
I think I'm in the middle there.
Let's see what we can see. Okay. Is it? Okay, we got 2 people going into the cell right there, and 2 people standing out.
That would be myself and Zane.
Okay, you and Zane went into the cell.
Correct.
So that means Huff
They stayed
and
out.
Webmore are out.
Yes, they stayed in the hallway.
All right. Who's that just popped up there? You see that? Looked like you and Shadle went in.
I might have backed out of the door a minute, and then to see where he was going, and then I might have went back in.
Okay. Okay. So, but it is just you and Shadle in the cell.
Yes, sir. And we just told him not to move. If he moved, but before we were out of the room, he'd probably get tased. And that was not my statement. That was from Zane.
Okay, so you're the one that physically opened the door to let him in. All right, when, what occurred at that? Tell me exactly what happened when they're taking him through the hallway and into the cell.
They took him into the cell, placed him on the bed. The shackles, handcuffs, and transport belt were removed.
Mhm.
At that point, I instructed him that if he tried to get up before we left the cell, that I would tase him. And he stated that he would not get up. Huff said something at that time. I'm not sure what he said though.
Okay, was the inmate compliant as far as you could tell, notwithstanding what
he
you
didn't
heard?
try to get up.
Okay,
Me and Corporal Huff put him in the holding cell. The COs came in, put him down on the ground, took his restraints off, and we closed the door. That was it. That's the last time I seen him.
If my math is at all accurate, that's about a minute and a half. So you've got it. Once you get him in the cell, he's shackled, correct? You guys have to do what once you get him in there?
Well, he's kind of laying to the side, and he's got the belt.
Yep.
So Zane's working on the cuffs. I'm trying to get his legs.
Yep.
And then I'm done first. So I'm thinking to myself, I didn't want his legs in the way, so I kind of stood over his leg so he couldn't reach up and kick him.
Mhm.
Just trying to think ahead.
Mhm.
And then he got the cuffs. We took the belt off, and we come out of the room.
Okay. 90 seconds to unshackle a guy who just assaulted a deputy. You had testified before, you all did, that he was not necessarily combative at that point, I thought, but more just still restless and not totally cooperating.
Right.
Without jail knowledge myself, how does that time correlate? Is that about the approximate amount of time it would take you to unshackle somebody? Is that pretty
Well,
quick?
typically when we shackle them, they're in the booking room and
Mhm.
they're kneeling up on the bench, and it's
Mhm.
readily available. I mean, he was laying on the ground. It was kind of an awkward situation, and it's not the normal way we would do it.
That's not a bad amount of time, though, is what you're saying.
I wouldn't think so. No.
Okay. I mean, you wouldn't have expected it to take a great deal less time to do something in that regard. Give him instructions, get him get him on the ground, get him unshackled, and ensure your own safety, and then get out the door.
Correct.
Okay. So that's you coming out first,
Yes.
and then Shadle. Okay. Shadle's got a blanket.
Yeah.
All right. He took that for what reason?
I suppose just for safety. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. You didn't take anything out?
No.
All right. Door shut. 2:34:35. So for that entire sequence from the time you got him into the cell was just about, well, it's still just, that's only 5 seconds more, so still about 90 seconds. Did you guys hang him?
No, sir.
Did you make it did you set anything up so that he could easily take his own life?
No.
You close the door, he's where at? What's Goldson doing inside?
We left him in the floor.
He's laying on the floor?
Zane, there was one more comment. Zane told him not to move.
Mhm.
Off the floor, he would tase him.
Right on.
That's
Okay.
it.
All right. You and Dunning are uncuffing Goldson. What are you saying to him while you're uncuffing him?
I informed him that if he were to get up off the floor before we left the cell, that he would be tased.
Okay. What kind of response did he give you?
He didn't give any response, and he didn't get off the floor.
Dunning say anything to the inmate?
No.
Nothing to you?
Not that I recall.
You basically had charge?
Right.
Okay. Where's the sheet at in the room at this point? Was your
I
exiting the
did
room?
not see a sheet.
Okay.
I removed the blanket as I left the cell.
Why'd you grab the blanket?
In the past, I've had an incident with a person in that same cell.
Mhm.
He was beating on the door.
Mhm.
I told him to stop. He didn't stop. He did it several times.
Mhm.
We had planned to put him in the restraint chair. I opened the door, he held his blanket up in front of him,
Mhm.
so I couldn't tase him.
Mhm.
He wouldn't come out, he wouldn't drop the blanket.
Okay.
It was a pretty bad ordeal.
Okay.
He ended up getting tased, but it wasn't a far enough spread, so he pulled him out and charged.
Okay. So you're basically connecting the fact that you took the blanket to the fact that Goldson had just
safety.
assaulted
Right.
a deputy. You had an incident before where somebody used that as kind of a barrier, and you're just ensuring that you're going to have clear view of Goldson as needed. Okay.
You get him into the cell. Do you have, I mean, what happens then?
We had him down on his stomach on the floor, and I'm trying to think. I know Deputy Dunning and CO Shadle were in there. I don't remember which one took the cuffs off, but they took the restraints off, and that was the end of it. We backed out.
Last time I seen him, he was on the ground. Hands spread out, feet spread out where they took the shackles and the handcuffs off of him. And he was talking to him then.
What was he wearing at that point?
He was wearing a blue like a pullover suit.
Okay.
So
All we seen was him being brought in and placed into 15, and then they came out with the cuffs and the belt. They had went in there and removed the cuffs from his hands and the transport belt.
Okay.
After he's assisted out of the vehicle, taken up to the cell,
We kind of, everybody's calming down, you know, and then we went in, we grabbed as I was exiting, hit the cell. I know we gave him a pair of shoes to wear to the thing. I know he didn't need that. I know Zane pulled the blanket out.
All he had on was the paper shirt. I don't even know what the suicide shirt and the paper pants. And there was the sandals there, the orange Crocs, but I don't remember if he had them on or not. I don't remember where they were. I remember seeing him by the holding cell afterwards, but I don't remember if he had them on when he got him out of the car or not.
And you are the one that physically locked the door on the inmate. You're the last one to talk to him in the cell.
Yeah, I had told him that if he got up, he'd be tased, and then Deputy Huff said something. I'm not sure what he said exactly. And then I walked out and we closed the door.
From the time you guys pulled him out of the car until the time you got him in and shut the door was only about 90 seconds. How does that seem in terms of, you know, what's typical for being able to get somebody in, uncuffed and out?
Typically, it would take longer because we're not in a hurry. We're not trying to get it done and get out so nobody gets injured.
Okay, so
that's
typically it
pretty
would take
quick.
longer than it did here?
Right.
So you guys, that was pretty quick turnaround to get him, and you had to unshackle his hands and his feet,
Right, and take the restraint belt off.
give him instruction.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you have time to hang him while you were doing that?
No.
Did you hang him?
No.
Did anybody else hang him?
No, not that I'm aware of.
You shut the door. There's
No.
nothing in there that,
Not that I saw.
okay.
The only thing that should have been in there that I saw was a mat.
From the time you're taking him in there to the time you shut the door, nobody's hanging him without you seeing it.
Correct.
So nobody hung him.
After the holding cell door was closed, I went in between 16 and 17. We have a thing of sanitary wipes and wiped down the handcuffs that we took off of him. Deputy Dunning wiped down the transport belt and the shackles. On my way back through, he was sitting on his bunk.
I actually did come back and get the Georgetown handcuffs though. I pulled out of the Sally Port, pulled around front, and walked back and got to the handcuffs. But that was last time.
And when you left,
That was the
He
last
was-
time I seen
he
him.
was conscious
Yes.
and coherent.
Yep.
No, we came up front. I went outside and smoked. And then Corporal Meyer gave me the call and told me to put that stuff in the bag for evidence. I guess they were going to charge him with attempted escape and assault on a police officer.
After they got him in the cell, you're paying attention to justice, what's the next thing that occurred?
After everybody came up, it was around 2:30 when they brought the inmate in. It was 2:37 when Deputy Huff and Deputy Wedmore left.
Mhm.
Sarah, Bill Dunning, and C.O. Shadle went right out front for a smoke break. They were maybe out there between 5 to 10 minutes, not that long at all. And Corporal Meyer had called in and he said he needed to talk to Zane. So I intercomed out there and I said, Corporal Meyer's on line 1 for you, Zane. And when he got off the phone, he's like, hey, we got to go get those cuffs. And I don't know if he had the cuffs on still in the cell. I don't know anything about that.
Mhm.
But they went back to his cell when they went to go get cuffs. And that's when they found him that way.
Okay, why are you guys going to the commissary?
Veteran.
Just common, do that every once in a while in the night.
Yeah, whatever we bring in, we can put in the fridge in there,
Okay.
keep it cold.
I'm sorry, approximately what time was that when you closed the door? To the best of your
They
recollection,
got
give me a
here, I
time
believe,
frame.
at 2:30, so probably between 2:35 and 2:40.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
After the holding cell door was closed, I went in between 16 and 17. We have a thing of sanitary wipes and wiped down the handcuffs that we took off of him. Deputy Dunning wiped down the transport belt and the shackles. On my way back through, he was sitting on his bunk. And then
How much time had passed at that point?
maybe a minute, 2 minutes
Okay.
tops.
You do a visual observation of him in his body.
Correct.
And he's sitting on it.
At that point, we put the handcuffs, the belt, and the shackles in a brown paper bag. And then, I think we came out. No, we came up front. I went outside and smoked. And then Corporal Meyer gave me the call and told me to put that stuff in the bag for evidence. I guess they were going to charge him attempted escape and assault on a police officer. So we went back and put him in the, got him, we had put him away, went back, got him, put him in the bag. And then we stood in the booking room and talked for a minute or two. Then we went down to the commissary room, which is right across the hall, to get a drink. And I decided to look in just to see what he was doing. He was hanging.
Zane, what goes on here, it's about 2:34, coming up on 2:35. There's limited activity in the hallway after that. At one point, Sarah McKenzie goes down to the commissary, you guys call it? She doesn't look in the cell, and then just almost moments after that, you and Dunning head down that way. What were you and Dunning going down the?
We were going to the same place she was, but I looked in and saw him hanging.
What did you decide to look in for?
I think it's just a habit.
And I just looked at Zane. Right across from that cell is our commissary room. And normally when we come in, we bring our drinks or lunch or whatever, and we put, because there's a refrigerator in there. And it's locked up, so nobody gets their hands on it. And I said, hey, you want to get a drink? Because we're getting ready to do another block check. And I went, put the key in the door, and Zane's standing next to him. And he looks through the window door. He's like, oh shit. And then I turn and look, and the same thing out of my mouth, pretty much. And then we got the door open.
We know that 20 minutes from now, Zane's going to find him hanging in his cell. I believe you go down there as well with him.
Yeah, we're going in the door directly across our commissary. We have refrigerators in there. That's where we keep drinks, lunch, whatever.
Okay.
We went out front, as I told you before, just everybody's, excited a little bit. So we come out to calm down, and Zane smoked a cigarette. I went outside just to calm down. We went back. We were told that the cuffs and stuff that were taken off him needed to be used for evidence. Because I had taken them in and I wiped them off. I didn't even think about it. I wiped them off with a sanitizing wipe and hung them up. I didn't even think about it. And so we went back, we bagged them up, and I just made the comment, hey, you want to get a drink? So we did.
We stood in the booking room and talked for a minute or two. Then we went down to the commissary room, which is right across the hall, to get a drink. And I decided to look in just to see what he was doing. He was hanging.
But the door got shut and you guys went, how far away did you guys get before?
We came up front to see if, how Justice was doing. And we went out front for a minute. He smoked a cigarette. We walked back. We took care of the bag. Like I said, it wasn't a tremendous amount of time, but
And to clarify, I know some of this is repetitive, to clarify again, who saw him in the cell hanging? Who was the person that first visually observed him?
it was Zane.
It was Zane. Okay, and how did he alert everybody else?
Well, like I said, we were going to the commissary to get a drink, and I turned around and was locking the door, and he kind of stood to the side while I was doing it. He just happened to glance in, and he saw it. So I go to unlock the door, and next thing I hear is, "Oh shit!"
He's obviously just leaning in right there. So right before he says, "Oh shit," that's his mind. That's nothing uncommon about that. Him taking a glance in and
No.
at an inmate. You're about to unlock the commissary door, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You look in. What do you see?
I see him hanging there.
Well, Larry called me about the assault, and then 15, 20 minutes later calls me about killing himself. Yeah.
From what I was trying to sleep, between my phone ringing and
What all do they have? Do they have sheets on the beds and things like that? Or
They do
what?
have a white sheet. They have a white sheet and like a little heavier blanket they sleep with. What he had back there, I have not
Right.
a clue.
we haven't even went back.
No. Let's see.
We called the BCI and we haven't.
Larry called me the first time about the assault at 2:31. I called Wayne at 2:34. Larry calls back at 2:46, so you're looking at 15 minutes. From the time Larry called me till the guy hung
I
himself.
mean, I don't know what
Well,
Copy.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
It's Sam.
Yeah.
They need you to respond to the sheriff's office. I guess, are you familiar with the inmate that just assaulted the CO?
Yeah.
But he just hung himself.
Yeah, well, he's still alive, isn't he?
No, he's dead.
He's dead?
Yes.
Okay.
So they said you'll need bongs.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get hold of him.
I'll let them know you're en route.
All right. In between that time, from when the assault was reported to you by Meyer, until the time that the comm center called you about the hanging, you had no other discussions or phone calls with Larry Meyer?
I did call Corporal Meyer back
Okay.
once I realized, and I woke up in my
Okay.
mind, one of our units had been assaulted.
Yeah.
I did get back out of bed, call Corporal Meyer,
Okay.
and say I'll be en route.
Okay. And is that all the conversation was?
Yes.
How far away would you say with that first call from Meyer was in between the time that until you called him back?
I'd say no more 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Other than those two calls, were there any other calls between you and Meyer?
Not that I recall. No, sir.
Okay. Did you speak to the coroner at all that morning?
At the sheriff's office, yes, I did.
Okay. And did she ask you about how you were notified of either the assault or the hanging?
I believe she did ask me. I believe we were outside of the sheriff's office when that happened.
Okay. Let me throw some times at you, buddy, and tell me what you think of this, and speak to the accuracy of these if you can.
Mm-hmm.
These are a little convoluted. These are notes we received from the coroner. It says Deputy Meyer called Detective Moore about assaults on CO Justice at 02:31 hours, so 2:30 in the morning. So you said you thought it happened about 2 a.m. We're not holding you to a time when you're waking
Sure.
up, but in that regard, she puts it at 2:31. This doesn't specifically say if she got this information from you or from Meyer, but these are from her notes talking to one of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says Moore called Deputy Bingaman at 02:34 hours. Is there a call you made to that person?
Very possible. Yes.
Who's Deputy Bingaman?
Our evidence tech.
Okay.
Yes.
What's his first name?
Wayne.
Okay. Deputy Wayne Bingaman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that might just be a call you didn't recall making until.
No, I mean it's commonplace.
Okay.
Something like this, we would call our evidence tech out.
Okay. That's at 2:34 hours. That one's not of critical concern at the moment. This says Deputy Meyer called back again at 02:46 hours telling, and this says me, Goldson hung himself. So these notes indicate that the coroner is taking this kind of from you. She's saying that, if I'm reading this correctly, Deputy Meyer, you're telling her Deputy Meyer called you back at 02:46 hours telling you that Goldson hung himself. And this says these times were taken off Deputy Moore's cell phone in my presence.
That's very possible.
About the times?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Are you aware of what time the inmate was discovered hanging?
When this happened, I knew. Right now, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. times won't always synchronize.
Right.
But to the best of our knowledge, the inmate was discovered by Zane Shadle at 2:55 in the morning. This has a note and the coroner saying that she took the time from your cell phone that you were advised of the hanging at 2:46. How can you explain that to us? Of that?
The only time I talked to Corporal Meyer, to the best of my knowledge, was over the assault.
Okay.
If he did call me, I know he called the first time. I called him back.
Mhm.
Then the comm center advised me, excuse me, of the hanging.
Okay. Meyer never advised you of the hanging, is what you're saying.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay, and then any word on? Did you recall showing the coroner your cell phone?
I believe I did out there on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Reference to times.
All right, and I mean, there's multiple, possible explanations for this, but what do you think would cause her to put down that you reported to her that the inmates, their hanging was reported to you at 2:46?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, and just I'll let you see the highlighted
Oh,
part right
that's
there.
fine. I know the coroner has misspoke and misquoted before. And it's very possible she did it this time.
Okay. Who's that there?
72, I believe, was Corporal Meyer.
Okay. I think we're down to where we go.
Are you aware of the situation at the jail? Okay, we're dispatching EMS for the.
So 258, Corporal Meyer says negative. I'm not aware of what's
You're
going on
saying
at the
that's
jail.
Meyer.
72, I believe, is Corporal Meyer.
Okay.
So 258, or whatever time it is now.
Are you aware of the situation at the jail?
So you think
Okay,
that's
we're
Meyer?
dispatching
Yes,
EMS for the 21 that was just brought in.
I mean, 258, Corporal Meyer was not aware of what happened.
Okay.
Kind of speaks for itself.
Okay.
Well, Larry called me about the assault, and then 15, 20 minutes later calls me about killing himself. Yeah.
From what I was trying to sleep, my phone ringing, and
What all do they have? Do they have sheets on the beds and things like that? Or
They do
what?
have a white sheet. They have a white sheet and like a little heavier blanket they sleep with. What he had back there, I have not
Right.
a clue.
we haven't even went back.
No. Let's see.
We called for BCI, and we haven't.
Larry called me the first time about the assault at 2:31. I called Wayne at 2:34. Larry calls back at 2:46, so you're looking at 15 minutes. From the time Larry called me till the guy hung himself.
We got a note that says 2:46. You notified Moore that Goldson hung himself. Is that at all possible that you notified Moore prior to the inmate being found hanging here that the inmate had hung himself?
No, I wouldn't have had knowledge of it.
Okay. Do you have any idea why she might have got the time so far off?
No, like I said, I know I called him on the assault. I know he was up in the air with do you really need me or not? And I said, well, I could probably get statements. And then he called me back. Said, I'm on my way.
Okay.
And then after that, I knew it was one done. Because it wasn't much after I hung up, he called me right back.
Okay.
Well, the next phone call I received was actually from Detective Moore, told me he was on his way.
Okay.
Because at the very beginning, he's like, what do you need from me? And that's why I think we really need an investigator due to, this report that he tried to get Justice's gun, and he got assaulted, their injuries. And the second phone call is when he told me he was on his way.
Okay. And he was on his way where?
From home to the hospital.
He was on his way to the hospital. Okay. And about how long between phone calls had taken place from the time you called him until the time that you got the call back from him? It's been a month.
I can't recall. It wasn't very long at all.
Okay.
Our policy is any major burglaries, any major crime, we notify a investigator.
Yeah.
Is our policy.
Okay. These are notes taken by the coroner
Okay.
from the morning of the 5th. Same thing we just covered with Detective Moore. And this is apparently her notes on conversations or calls made between you and Moore. Says Deputy Larry Meyer called Detective Moore about assault on CO Justice at 02:31 hours. Possible that time frames are right. Moore called Bingaman. Deputy Meyer called back again at 02:46 hours, telling, it says me, this is apparently Moore talking. So a statement from Moore to the coroner allegedly is Deputy Meyer called me at 2:46 hours telling me Goldson hung himself. It says these times were taken off Detective Moore's cell phone in my presence being the coroner. Can you comment on the times that she has there?
The only thing excuse me, the only thing I can comment is I called him on the Detective Moore on the assault.
Yep.
And he was kind of up in the air what he was going to come, but then he called me back and said I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And then after that, if it says I called him, I probably did call him because he's an investigator.
Yep.
And I gotta let him know what's going on.
Okay. But you heard about the hanging, the whatever term you don't recall. You don't recall what it was, but you heard that was the first knowledge you had of anything happened to Goldson after he got back to the jail was when you heard it over the radio.
That's correct.
Okay. And you may have called in the office at that point, but you're saying that you're not sure, but you may have called Detective Moore after that to let him know also of the hanging?
If it's on his phone, I probably did. I can't recall.
Yeah, we don't.
It's been a month ago.
Would it have been normal procedure?
It would be.
Okay.
If I knew for a fact it was, a hanging, if it would have been just unresponsive person, that could be a seizure. It could be. We don't usually notify an investigator on that. If it's.
Yeah. Now, why are you walking by the door and Dunning's opening it to the commissary?
He had his keys out. I didn't.
Okay, there you go. Looks like you just got your first look. What do you see?
The inmate hanging.
Okay. Surprised to see that?
Oh
right.
shit, those my words.
Okay. Guys, scramble to get your keys.
Right.
When did you first? When were you first told that the inmate had hung himself?
Well, I was back with Shadle and Dunning when we walked up to the door to check on him.
Okay.
And then Shadle had seen him open the door, went in and relieved the pressure, picked him up a little bit to relieve the pressure from his neck, and Dunning had cut the sheet down. And I went into the booking room and called Brown County Communications and told them that we had a male 58.
After they got him in the cell, you're paying attention to justice. What's the next thing that occurred?
After everybody came up, it was around 2:30 when they brought the inmate in. It was 2:37 when Deputy Huff and Deputy Wedmore left. Sarah, Bill Dunning, and C.O. Shadle went right out front for a smoke break. They were maybe out there between 5 to 10 minutes, not that long at all. And Corporal Meyer had called in and he said he needed to talk to Zane. So I intercommed out there and I said, Corporal Meyer's on line 1 for you, Zane. And when he got off the phone, he's like, hey, we got to go get those cuffs. And I don't know if he had the cuffs on still in the cell. I don't know anything about that. But they went back to his cell when they went to go get cuffs. And that's when they found him that way.
Is that unusual, the way they handle that?
I mean, we've had hangings before and incidents, and usually it's nothing like it. This was different.
So everything's in line with what you somewhat expected. You expected to see a hanging victim.
Yeah, actually I did. I expect to still see him, but I didn't realize that they was going to, cut him down.
Right.
But anyway, Shadle had come out, and they said a few words, don't know what, and then he come to the back door, and that's when I asked him the question. I said, at what point in time, I said, did the handcuffs, when was they put on? He said, before he was cut down. Why is that? And he said, because of safety, our safety.
And this was Shadle you were talking to?
Yes.
Again, Zane Shadle?
Yes.
And you recall him saying that the handcuffs were put on before he was cut down?
Yes.
Okay.
Got the door open, we're trying to get him down. Zane grabs a hold of him. I had a pocket knife, I grabbed it, cut him down. We got him on the ground. He said, get me a pair of cuffs. I started out the door and I thought, I keep some right here. So I grabbed my cuffs, I handed them to him. He put him on him, then he started checking his vitals. He said, and then compressions, and he said, hey, go, he threw me his keys, said, go get me the stethoscope out of the lab. So I booked up the hallway.
Did you see Shadle lift him up? Did you see anybody cut that, or is that just what you were told?
I was in the room when they done it.
Okay.
You guys get the door open.
Yeah, Zane grabs him, and I reach in my pocket and get a knife, and I cut the sheet. He's on the ground.
Who's that?
That's me.
And you're going to get?
I was going to get handcuffs, and I realized, oh shit, I got mine right here.
Yep.
So I turned around, went back, and handed him the handcuffs because we got him down. Because Zane said we better handcuff him because we didn't know what state he was in.
And he's already on the ground.
Yes, sir.
He's on the ground. And so Zane says we better handcuff him. You forget momentarily that you got handcuffs. You run to get some. 6 feet down the hall, you remember you got some. You turn back, use your cuffs.
You can see I reach back there and I wear it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Right there, you go in, you cuff him, compression start, and the rest of the story we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll see me running out here, running up the hallways, going for a stethoscope. He said, hey, give me a stethoscope. So I ran up and got it and come back.
Okay. What did you do at that point?
I opened the door, ran in, lifted up on him. Deputy Dunning climbed up on the bunk and cut him down. Once he was on the ground, I got handcuffs from Deputy Dunning and cuffed him for our safety. Rolled him over. I checked for a pulse. I could not find a pulse. I started compressions.
Can you see in the cell at that point?
I can, yeah.
What did you see?
I've seen him hanging and Dunning went under his rear. Zane went under his rear and lifted him up, and
Okay.
Dunning grabbed his knife and was attempting to cut him down.
You grabbed the inmate, lifted up on him.
Right.
Who cut him down?
Dunning.
Okay. At that point, you instructed Dunning to get some handcuffs?
No, he had a set on him. I asked him for his handcuffs.
Well, I'll tell you this, you might not be recalling correctly, but it looks like he's running out the door here. He stops, realizes that he has some handcuffs, and then pulls them out. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you recall being the one to say, we need to get some cuffs on this guy.
Right.
And you've already clarified to us that was for officer safety.
Correct.
And just clarify one more time, where is the inmate when you cuff him?
On the floor.
100% he was on the floor.
Correct.
And you guys cuffed him for
Safety, yeah. We weren't sure what state.
Obviously,
He was
you know.
already violent to one of our officers, so we're gonna take any chances.
And just to clarify, you just said it, but just to clarify, he was cuffed exactly when?
Right after we cut him down.
He was down on the ground?
Yes.
Okay, on his belly?
Maybe kind of on his side, sort of,
All right.
because his hands were to his back.
Okay, so he was easily cuffable position from where he was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you right there at the cell when the cell door was opened for the first time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there any movement in the cell whatsoever?
No.
Okay.
He was hanging there like a, for lack of better words, limp noodle.
And so you didn't even see any sway in the way he was hanging, so it's not, you didn't see any physical movements from him, but it's not even any movement on
No,
the.
sir.
Okay. Take me back for a moment when you first saw him, and was there any movement still occurring in it? So totally still?
Totally still.
Okay. And when you say you observed, you said that you opened the door, went right in and lifted up on him?
Correct.
He yelled down the hallway first? How did the other?
They were with me. We were in the booking room talking, and we went to the commissary room.
Okay, so this wasn't like an official, I got to do a check at this time, you just walking by and looked in? Okay.
So you told him to quit because you knew that.
It's obvious. I knew he was gone, so he took the stethoscope and put it over his heart. I checked for a pulse, there was no pulse.
That's why you start CPR, huh?
I had CO McKenzie call for a squad, and I had Deputy Dunning go to the medic's office and get a stethoscope. Once he got back, I listened for a heartbeat. There was none. But I continued compressions. I think I did 6, maybe 7 sets of compressions. And then Corporal Huff arrived and told me I could stop.
Brown County Communications.
Please tell me he tried to hang himself.
Yeah.
I figured as much.
I don't know if they've cut him down. I tried to ask Felicia, but Jason, she doesn't understand.
I know which one you're talking to, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I asked her 3 times. I said, can you advise, has the subject been cut down? Can you re-advise? I just finally gave up.
All right. Well, I'll put some hustle into it.
So, okay.
All right. Where's the squad? They still gathering members?
Yeah, we just got them toned because Brian wasn't sure how to really tone it, and I said, tell him, attempted hanging. We can't.
That's all it is.
I mean, so I don't know what's going on.
Hopefully he got it done, but I doubt it.
So, are you on your way back there?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm hauling balls now. So.
All right.
All right. I'll
Thanks.
hang up and drive.
Okay, bye.
I didn't see CO Shadle until I got my head in the door. CO Shadle was in there doing chest compressions on Goldson. Or Goldson, I should say. Put a T in there. But
At that point, Goldson's lying
He's-
on the floor of the cell.
he's obviously dead. I mean, you could sell it. He's already passed.
Was he already cuffed when you got in there?
Yes.
And he was cuffed for safety.
Yeah, well, from what they told me, as soon as they cut him down, they cuffed him, fearing that maybe if he come to, he'd try fighting to get out again, which is obviously a valid concern.
After you guys had cut him down, cuffed him, he's on the ground, was there an attempt made to revive him?
Oh, yeah, there was compressions.
Okay. Who was giving those?
Zane.
Okay, and what were you doing at the time?
Initially, I went and got some gloves. He asked for some gloves, which that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And then he started giving me compressions.
Okay.
And that's then when I left to go get the stethoscope.
Right.
And I just brought the stethoscope back, and he continued with compressions. And then not long after that, Huff came in, and he was like, "I don't think you're." He was done. I mean,
When you got back and saw Corrections Officer Shagel doing the CPR, did you have any further involvement?
I actually told him just go ahead and stop because I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, and squad was going to be there momentarily. I just advised the communications center to tell the squad that he's going to be code 16, but we'll want him to respond to confirm for sure.
did you guys pretty much follow procedure? You lift up. Is that have
Correct.
you guys been trained to like immediately cut down? Okay. Does it seem like everybody did the right thing in this case?
Absolutely. I mean, there was really nothing we could have done for him.
Is there any reason for you to believe that anything happened in that cell other than this individual hanging themselves?
Brought you back. Is there anything we haven't asked you that would help us to get to the truth of what occurred that night? Okay.
What do you think happened in the cell?
What do you mean?
What do you think occurred?
I think he hung himself. I think he realized what he was facing after the incident.
And seeing what you saw going in, and that, do you think it's physically possible for an inmate to have draped a sheet up around there as he did on himself?
I don't know how the hell he could have done it, but I guess it's possible.
In working here at the sheriff's office, is there anything in your experience or things you've seen or heard that would make you believe that any of the officers or any employees would have had anything to do with his death?
Absolutely not. On my shift, we work together. The females cover the front, and we take care of the back. Anywhere I go, Deputy Dunning goes. Strength in numbers.
Is there any doubt in your mind that this inmate, Goldson, hung himself and that somebody else isn't responsible for his death?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we were together the whole time. There was no one else back here that could have been around. I mean, I have no doubt. I was just as shocked. That's like my second suicide that I've been on, and I don't want to joke. I don't want to say this in a joking manner, but the first time I knew it was going to happen eventually when I was in my training, but I didn't have time to prepare for it. I didn't have time to prepare for that. It was there, you know. So.
There's a lot of things that appear one way, and then they come up with some kind of an explanation. Oh, until we saw it, we didn't know this. Now, I have the sheet stuff here where they talk about soft cloth, including sheets. You know, the ligature marks don't match the thing that's laying around their neck and things of that nature. So that will all just have to, have other people look at it and say, what do you think? What do you think? Is it possible? Is this not possible? But the more we go here this afternoon, we're now at the point where about 15 to 20 people are involved in this conspiracy.
Are you surprised the guy hung himself?
A little bit, yeah.
Why would you be surprised?
It's just not something you'd expect.
You had that happen before?
Not me personally. Yeah. I think there's been 2 in the history of this jail that's successful. I mean, I've had people attempt it. Had people that attempted it to get attention and people that actually attempted it. But nobody's ever succeeded.
Were you told what happened to the inmate?
That one over the radio that there was, or that I think actually the squad got called out or something, and kind of put 2 and 2 together as what they were getting at, but no one would come out and say that, he hung himself.
Right.
But that it was kind of gathered that he had done something to himself.
Were you told by anyone later on what had happened?
After on the way back, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Who told you that?
I rode back with Ryan Wedmore.
What exactly did he say?
I mean, that he hung himself, and we were trying to figure out, that because no one saw a sheet in there, and trying to figure out where the sheet came from.
So to whoever may have had knowledge, there shouldn't have been a sheet in there?
They said the only way the sheet was in there is that it was under the mat or something that he had, hidden prior.